Trapped in her own home. That's the reality for this grandmother. Her family's pleas for help have fallen on deaf ears. The only way for her to get out of her apartment is with the help of emergency services. And that's happened not once, not twice, but hundreds of times.
Imagine if this was your grandmother.
It's all right.
Imagine if this same scene had played out week in, week out for years.
Screams and cries, doesn't want to go down. She just wants to die.
And imagine how you'd feel if this was the only way she could get out of her home.
It raises really serious issues about Housing New South Wales' duty of care.
She's in jail here. She's in home jail, basically. She doesn't see sunlight.
Mahassan Faraj has made this trip countless times, but it doesn't get any easier.
If you could just explain to her when we're carrying that she's not to grab onto things.
Strapped into a carrier and assisted by a team of emergency services.
2 pairs of emergency services, paramedics and fire brigades and all that just to get her down.
Alex Faraj is one of her grandchildren and he's had enough. He says he and his family are sick of watching the same distressing situation play out time and time again.
I'd say 200 times in the last couple of years.
200 times?
Yeah, 200 times. 200 times, ridiculous.
What has the Department of Housing said when you've requested the ground floor?
The past 7 years, for the last 50, 60 times I've requested, it's always you're on top of the list. Always you're on top of the list. You know, God help the people that are under the list, basically. They're gone, those ones.
Mahassan Faraj has 7 kids and more than 50 grandchildren. Throughout the past decade, her health has slowly deteriorated. She suffers from chronic diabetes, has undergone a recent hip replacement and has ongoing knee problems.
You're just waiting for her to die, basically. That's like she's waiting for herself to die.
She's been in her Rockdale public housing unit for 20 odd years, but now these stairs are holding her hostage.
Is it strange to you that the Department of Housing are aware that she is disabled? She's on, the second floor of an apartment block?
It's terrible. It's so weird.
Yeah.
How can they do that to people? Like even other people. How do you put disabled people on a level with no lifts, no air? Upstairs, there's been 2 fires previously. If a fire happens and it comes down, how's she going to get in and out? How's she going to be safe? This step, if she wants to see a little bit of sunlight, she can't even step over. It's terrible. It's very bad.
You can understand if it took some months, but for it to have taken years and years, and that kind of response is particularly misinformed and arrogant.
Ian Yates is the Chief Executive of COTA, the Council on the Ageing Australia. He says he has heard of a number of similar public housing incidents over the years, particularly in New South Wales.
We hear of situations where nothing does happen until a doctor or another senior figure actually harasses the department, housing people, to get action. This is really one of the worst situations I've heard of.
But it gets worse. The downstairs apartment has in recent years been available, but Mahassan was seemingly overlooked and a new tenant moved in. And then the ultimate insult came just a fortnight ago when Mahassan's family again asked the New South Wales Department of Housing for more space for their grandmother so she had more room to do her rehab exercises.
They said, we don't make to measure.
Every time Mahassan has to go to hospital, her family need to call emergency services. And understandably, it can take a few hours for them to pick her up and even longer for them to bring her home. And this is what's most distressing for their family. They feel like they're wasting the precious resources of the paramedics and firemen.
Poor paramedics. They've got to call that backup. They can be doing something else. They can be rescuing someone in a heart attack. She thinks, is this really worth it, all this?
If I were emergency services in New South Wales, I'd be sending the Housing Department a bill every time they have to do that.
And before you ask about nursing homes, yes, the family has thought about it, but they say it's a last resort. One of her daughters is her full-time carer, and her children say they're willing to take her to hospital themselves. They just can't navigate the stairs. What could your grandma do with a ground floor apartment?
That she can't do now, at least see sun, the minimum. At least open up the blinds, at least see grass, at least have a little stroll in the wheelchair.
Some good news. The Department of Communities and Justice told us it's urgently trying to find suitable housing for Ms Faraj. It's also apologised to her. The full statement is on our website.